Okay, it's live. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the special meeting of the Board of Commissioners of Whatcom County Fire Protection District 4, May 1st, 2023. We're going to do things a little bit differently tonight because of the purpose of this meeting. The purpose of the meeting, of course, for those of you who aren't aware, is to discuss what, if any, levy rate lid lift, and I probably said that wrong, we're going to ask for we're going to put on the ballot in August. So I call the meeting to order, and then we'll do some introductions before we get started. My name is Steve Cooley. I'm a commissioner, one of the 3 commissioners.
My name is Tim Johnson, Commissioner.
And Mark Land, Commissioner. Jason Bannerman, the Fire Chief for Fire District 21 and Fire District 4.
And I'm John Irwin, I'm a Division Chief of Operations.
All right. Did any of the District 21 commissioners want to introduce themselves, or should we just move on? You're welcome to if you would like. We have several of you here.
John Crawford.
Robert?
Bruce Hanson.
Great. Okay, thank you. So the first thing we're going to do is normally we would have the public comment period first and allow people to come up and make comments. But we want you to hear, anyone who would like to make a comment, we want you to hear the presentation from the fire chief about the different levy rates that we are considering. So I'm going to recognize Chief Jason Vanderveen, who again, as he just said, is the District 21 fire chief and is also our fire chief by contract. And I would like him to make a presentation. And then after that, we'll be opening up for public comment. And when that's concluded, we will continue with the public meeting by discussing what we've heard, and the commissioners will maybe or maybe not, we need to take some action. So we will be working on taking some action. So Chief Vanderveen.
Thank you, sir. Just a quick background. Hopefully everybody was here or able to participate or hear about the outreach that we did last month. So this is a continuation of that as we present the levy rate recommendations to the board of Fire District 4. So what I have before everybody here is just some, and hopefully everybody can see that. I can make it. So what I've done, commissioners, is put together some historical data first, and then I'll go through a couple levy rates that we discussed in our meetings, and then the impact of those rates. So as you can see here, I have a chart. This is taken from the Whatcom County tax book. This is Whatcom County Fire District 4's assessed valuation from 2019 through to 2023. So there's been an overall rise of almost 45%. I would ask the audience to remember I'm not the assessor. So that works out to about 11.4% each year. We're seeing property in District 4 jump up. Obviously, the last 2 years have been bigger. Those are just numbers. This next graph is the Whatcom County Fire District 4 budget. So it has gone up a total of 5.8%. You see a rise in 2020, a rise in 2021, and then a decrease in 2022. That is because the commissioners chose to not continue. You used to have an employee, a board secretary, that came along with salary, benefits, all the things. You made the difficult decision at the end of 2021 to discontinue having an employee, and District 21 absorbed all the work from that. So that's why you see that one year drop in the budget. Just for reference, another point of data, I chose to add the CPI or inflation rates. These were taken from the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics. We all know that in 2021 to 2022, we're all suffering under high rates of inflation, and so these again just are here to illustrate the difficulty that the district has in keeping up with things, things like, maintenance and apparatus. I put down here, I put the RCW, per RCW 84.52.043, fire districts may levy $1.50 per thousand of assessed valuation. It should be in capitals with voter approval. So your current levy rate is 63 cents. Your fire levy rate is 63 cents. So what I have next are 3 different levy rate examples. These are numbers that we have talked about in the District 4 Commissioner meetings and with our consultant, Liz Loomis, as we work towards the levy lid lift. The first one is $1.15. So the way I calculated this is standard calculation. So I took the assessed valuation for 2023 and I added 11.42%. So that's taking the rise in AV over the last from 2019 to 2023 divided by 4, because I have four numbers. And that's the assessed valuation would rise. Or I expect the AV next year to be $2.8 million or $2.8 billion. Okay, so next line, I take the 2.8, I divide it by 1,000 because the levy rate is levied at per thousand. I get 2.8 million times $1.15 turns out to $3.279 million in fire levy tax. The next line is the Whatcom County Fire District 4 EMS levy, which remains, that's still there. So the $418,000 is this year's tax revenue. I added the 1%, which is typically what the board does. The board does not have to do that, but that I just went off our past operating procedure. Came up with $422,718 for the District 4 EMS tax. Those combined is $3.702 million. Okay. The next rate I'm going to show you is 99 cents. Use the same math, AV plus 11.42 divided by 1,000, do it times 99 cents. It works out to $2,882,000 for the fire levy tax. Use the same calculation on the EMS levy, come up with the same number. The total estimated tax revenue for both fire and EMS is $3.245 million. Now I go down here, 84 cents. Why 84? That's completely random. That is Fire District 21's current levy rate. And actually I need to admit, there's a little mistake in here. I can't believe I didn't notice this before. That should actually be District 21's current levy rate is actually 85 cents. It's 84, it's 0.845. My eyes grabbed 84 cents, so we're running with 84. Sorry, Commissioner. So same calculations, and it works out to be $2.394 million in fire levy tax, plus the EMS levy works out to $2.817 million in total revenue, tax revenue collected. I will be very open and say this is only tax revenue collected. This is not transports, and this is not money we could get for rent. Is because those can dry up. Some of the transport reimbursement is going through a big change in Washington, D.C. It's called the GEMT program. Currently, District 4 gets it kind of by proxy through District 21. They do get some kickback from that, or there's some revenue, I should say, from that. That program is undergoing change as more and more fire departments and states are joining into it. The feds are changing the way that money is allocated, and that could have an effect on the transport revenue budget. So I did not add those things. As we get down to where I see our money being spent in the next couple of years, you'll see why. And I think there's a justification for that, for not putting that in there. Also, I did speak on public record at a District 4 meeting where I talked about the delinquent tax rate, needing to add a 10% fetch factor in there. Went back and did the math, and actually District 4 taxpayers, it's less than 1% for delinquent taxpayers. So it's almost a non-issue. If so I wanted to correct my statement earlier and then show you that it's not, delinquent tax is not going to be an issue or shouldn't be an issue. A piece in here, the next graph is cost to the taxpayers. I chose $400,000, $500,000, and $700,000 assessed valuation homes. You can see the current fire levy rate at 63 cents for each of those. And then what it would march out to at $1.15, 99 cents, and 84 cents for each of those assessed valuation homes. One thing we talked about at our outreach was capital needs, some of the needs that the district has. We identified some of them. We need to replace a 2006 fire engine. We need to replace a 1999 tender and a 1999 brush truck, and then the siding project on buildings A and B. Set up to $2.15 million. These numbers for apparatus are based off of Fire District 21 numbers that we're replacing apparatus, and these are what kind of numbers we're seeing. So I checked that with looking at some other districts. I asked Bellingham what they paid for equipment, and it's all coming in kind of. And these, believe it or not, these are not parade rigs. These are working utility boxes. I know we have a former chief in the audience. These aren't fancy. This is just what stuff costs, and it takes 2 years to get built. So we have these capital needs, and we had also discussed at a previous commissioner meeting about how are we going to tackle some of these. The contract that you have with District 21 right now is District 21 takes up, will handle a certain amount of cost, but any exorbitant costs has to be negotiated and discussed by the district, with District 4 picking up some of these larger ticket items. So these are costs that the fire district is facing. One of the recommendations I made was councilmanic bonds. So basically put us in debt to ourselves. It's commissioner voted debt. There's a risk in that, I understand, but these are immediate needs, especially with some build time. These are beyond immediate needs. It will affect the WSRB rating, so the insurance rating, to have newer apparatus. It's better for the district. One way to do that would be, like I said, councilmanic bond, which is commissioner voted debt. So at $2.5 million with an current interest rate of 4.24, and on a 20-year repayment, the payment for that is $190,000 a year. The last one is budget projections. So this is what things cost. In order to staff Station 12, pay for the admin staff portion, the mechanic, the maintenance, and all the other things, just personnel costs for 2024, I'm estimating $2.3 million. So that is a 5% across the board increase. That's a contract, 5%. We have a 5% contractual wage increase. I'm just applying that to all things. 2024 operational costs. These are fuel, tires, maintenance, routine everyday maintenance. I'm projecting 8% increase, I hope. You see the total there. 2024 District 4 administrative costs. That's just for you paying for to have the commissioners, legal fees, insurance that the district is provided to have, its own policy. All the things that make up a government entity cost $50,000. And then I added the capital needs bond payment. I recognize that you have not voted for that. We've not gone through the entire process. That's just my line of thinking, for a total projected expenses of 2.9, almost $3 million, roughly $3 million for 2024. What this would allow us to do, this budget would allow us to do the daily operations, no change in level of service, It would allow us to do more predictive maintenance, some more preventative maintenance. This list of capital needs is not exhaustive. This is not, if I had a money tree, this is not all the things we do. We have approximately $60,000 to $80,000 worth of, we went and had a structural engineer go through the training tower, which is, 25 years old, and it needs some maintenance. We've got a retention pond that needs some maintenance, some severe maintenance. The blacktop out on the training ground is going to be due in the next couple of years here. That's a big project. It kind of, we have 30-year-old furnaces, 30-year-old AC units, and all the things are happening. Or we want to be prepared when they do happen, so that it's not a stumbling block. Everything's not an emergency. So that is where we're at with the budget projection. So what I would ask you to do is to look at the 3 levy rates that I provided. I don't know that I'll be able to pull them all up. Let's see. Get them all up. Anyway, what I'd ask you to do is consider, take a look at the bottom line of what the tax revenue that we need. I will once again state that there's probably currently we bring in about $250,000 to $300,000 worth of transport revenue annually, and with the rental of Station 13 and the rental of the admin building, we'll be bringing about $150,000 worth of revenue there. Yes, sir.
But again, that is not, that can vary from year to year. Said earlier.
Hopefully not, but it could. The one that's most susceptible, I suppose, is the rental fee, rental income. If right now our biggest renter is the city of Bellingham. If things were to get tight for them, I could see them forcing the fire department to not, rent as much property to make do with what they have. The other property we rent, Station 13 with DNR, that's a state, so it's pretty stable, but it's rental income. They're renters. They could pull out. The transport, there are some concerns amongst fire chiefs that probably next year we're starting to start dialing our transport revenue projections back because of the changes that the feds are making to some insurance reimbursement programs. So that's something that we have on the watch list. But this would allow us to put, we currently have $500,000 in reserve. This would allow us to put a little bit more in reserve. And the other possibility is that with a little bit of extra income, we could tackle potentially some of these smaller, a tender for $300K or a brush truck for $200,000. Maybe we can tackle those without having to go into debt on them and pay interest to a bank. If we are able to capture a little bit more revenue.
And that 25, the commissioner's loan amount that you had put there would cover all of the capital needs that we've listed.
Yes.
Correct.
Now,
But we don't necessarily have to.
The payment could be smaller,
Yeah.
But the interest rate could also be higher, which is going to offset itself. You can't just get you can't just get a bond for cash. There has to be specific capital projects identified, and those must be funded in a certain period of time. It's not like we just get $2.5 million and stick it in an account.
Right.
It's you basically turn the receipt in and they pay for it. And that's the level of debt we would be incurring. So it would be less than 2.5. I was just using that as a rough number.
Yeah, I just want to make that clear.
And to follow up on that, I mean, you mentioned a 2-year lead time for an engine. And so if we were to order one it would still be 2 years out before we actually engineer
Yes,
the
sir.
station. The councilman bond basically affords us the ability to order it.
and prepay, which oftentimes results in a $50,000 to $60,000 savings. District 21's moved to that model where we prepay for apparatus to get the savings.
So is it fair to say that none of these levy rates that you covered are intended to make a significant dent in the capital expenses?
No, sir, this will, none of these
That's why we
would
need
get
to-
us all the way there.
Right.
I made a commitment to the taxpayers that I would be respectful, we would be respectful in our ask. We're trying to be respectful in the ask and just fund what we need to fund, not anymore.
The questions?
So, and just for reference, the $1.15 levy rate would bring in $3.7 million, which
Would allow us to perhaps do some of those capital projects, or at least put a dent in them, but we would still be looking at some sort of a loan.
you'd still be looking at some sort of loan and, yeah.
So one of the things we have to consider is, correct me if I'm wrong, is how we fund those capital projects, right? If we want to fund some of that with a levy rate, part of a levy rate increase,
Right.
or if we want to keep the levy rate increase to a bare minimum and then fund most of the capital projects with a loan.
Which is where I think, just my opinion, that the 99-cent levy rate kind of puts us, it comes in at $3.2 million, and the budget projections I made, which, hopefully these are high.
Yeah.
Is 2.9. It's, and that has that funds that bond payment if that's something that you're elected to do.
And it leaves us with, as you said, a little that levy rate at 99 cents leaves us with a little bit of extra perhaps that we could keep in reserve or save for capital projects.
To self-fund some of those capital projects. Yes.
Okay, whereas the 84-cent one is basically would pay for.
Yeah, they 84-cent. It would rely on some of that reserve and potentially some of the income that can't be counted on as well, right? I mean,
Right.
Yeah, what we would have to count on here is dipping into reserves for $250,000 almost.
And looming over all of this, of course, is a possible, future years, we might want to form an RFA with District 21 or some sort of a merger to save on costs. And in order to do that, we need to raise our levy rate to the point that we're at least on par with District 21. However, they themselves are probably going to have to ask for a levy rate increase in their district next year. Yes.
You're very polite to say probably.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So
Yes, they're absolutely, District 21 is 1 year behind you.
Right.
For me doing this same presentation to the District 21 board, because of levy rate compression, and just the cost of doing business.
So if we stuck to that 84, or as you said earlier, 84.5%, or 80.845% levy rate, and then District 21 raised theirs next year, we wouldn't be on par with them again.
Correct.
We'd be back in the same boat.
Yes, as I said during the public outreach stuff, we've done all the work in putting together the RFA. We're really this close. It would be a shame not to use all that, time and talent that we spent and money on the RFA. We're so close. I think the boards are aligned. They have a common vision. All the consultants that anybody's hired over the years have all said this should be done. I think it would put us closer to that alignment. and make for an easier, whether it's a merger or RFA, I'll take, I won't guess what the boards are going to do, but
Right.
it would get us closer to that vote.
What else, gentlemen? Any other questions for the chief? Okay, great. Thank you very much, chief. Appreciate that. We will now open up the public comment period. And just as a reminder, this is an opportunity for anyone who would like to just offer us some feedback on what they heard and what they think the levy rate should be, or anything else that is on your mind. It's not a question and answer. It's just for us, an opportunity for us to hear from you. So if you could, Jenny is going to, how many do we have on there, Jenny?
Just two.
Two? Okay. She'll call your name, and when you do, if you wouldn't mind introducing yourself, or at least tell us your first name and then speak. And keep it to a few minutes. I'm not going to time you at this point, but keep it to a few minutes. And
Yes. Hi, I'm Lisa.
at least,
My question is, and I know you said a question and answer period, are there any grants available for an engine or a water tender? Anything along that nature?
We have been unsuccessful at grants over the past few years, and I believe it's because we're not in debt and we don't run in the negative year after year. We're trying again this year, but
it's not something we can count on.
it's not something we can count on. And unfortunately, we're not big enough to have a full-time grant writer to hire. Both districts are running our budgets as thin as we can, as lean as we can, and
Jerry? I'm Jerry Chumley, and
Thanks for coming.
we
Both of
sort
you.
of have a history here.
Well, we're probably not aware of that. So,
My husband was the first full-time paid chief.
oh, great.
He was responsible for supervising the construction of this building, this facility. So I had a lot of buy-in, and I'm supportive. I came just to hear what's being said, because in spite of the fact that my husband's been dead 5 years, people still call and they want to know, well, what do you think? And so I just wanted to hear what you guys had to say. I will tell you that historically, I believe that District 4 has changed. It was a community fire department, and it doesn't have that feel now. And I think that is I think that a big thing for selling something like this is the PR that goes into it, getting the public buy-in. I've started to hear more people say they have to support this than I've heard in the last 5 years. I've heard, however, I still don't think that people feel like this is their fire station anymore. John mentioned that they were going to bring back the pancake breakfast. Good idea. Very good idea. I think, that's just my opinion, but anyway, I think that all of this is fine. I can't remember it. I won't try and regurgitate it to anybody who calls me. I think there's the only screen that really matters to most of the people is the cost to the taxpayers. They want to know how much it's going to cost. Everybody's the house value has gone up, and everybody's expenses have gone up, and they're not terribly sympathetic to anybody else's whose expenses have gone up, because it's happening to everybody across the board. And so then the fire district comes in and says, we need more money. And they say, oh, yeah, we all. So somehow you have to merge those two concepts, the community fire station and the fact that if we want to continue to have this fire service, somehow those two groups have to find some sort of emerge. And I don't have the answers, but I think a lot of this, it comes down to public relations. And I was the district public information officer for some time. And I was the PIO over in Grant County. So I have some, and things are different. I'm not trying to tell you guys what to do, but I've had some experiences where I have seen things like just good PR make a huge difference. One example, we were trying to pass a school board, and it's not the same, but trying to pass a school board levy. And they came in with a bare minimum. Here's the least we can do. And it went down big time. They went around, they talked to the parents, and what is your complaint? They said, well, here's what we want. And they wanted some different programs and that. They raised the levy higher to what they would need to meet the taxpayers' desires. And the state school board people came in and said, you guys are crazy, you all need fired and da. But they did it and it passed. I don't know that would work here. I think it's important that people know that they can either have the bare minimum or they can have what they really want. And that what they really want has got to include the sense of community. My opinion.
Thank you very much.
Can I add one more thing to what Jerry says?
Yes, you may.
I'm transplant. I'm from another state with a fire background. One particular city was going to lose a firehouse, and they got the community support in. And they did so much besides pancake breakfasts and barbecues and come see our firehouse, put the kids on it, introduce the EMS and whatever. They went so far as to Friends of Millbrae Fire, and they sold t-shirts. And by getting the people out there and seeing the t-shirts in the community sparked more energy. So much so that it was Save Our Fire Department. And I agree with Jerry, PR. And maybe you might get some donors. You might want to donate a t-shirt. And then $300 comes in one day, $500 comes in. Just something to get the message out there.
Thank you. Appreciate that. That's good feedback. Okay. I think there's no one else wants to speak, Jenny? Okay.
You are?
Lonnie Lyon, LNIEOYON,
That would a mailing address?
2088 Academy Road.
Okay. Thank you.
Mr. Lyon, go ahead, please.
The levy rate. Which levy rate is going to equal the raise of District 21 so that we are on the same par that's going to continue the service that we've been getting?
We don't know that right now. It's can't come up with a number yet because District 21 has done that homework and decided we can, if any of the commissioners from 21 would like to comment, they certainly can. But my understanding is we don't have a number right now.
Is it a projected number or an estimated number that we would have to come up with in District 4?
What we can say is that we know.
If you nod, I'll talk. My best guess, my best estimate would be the 99-cent levy rate is similar, very, 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 very similar to what District 21 or what I'm going to recommend.
Okay, and that's the rate at which District 4 is going to have to at least start at for an increase in levy tax, because otherwise we don't get any services.
Well, it makes it difficult if we want to move ahead with this merger or RFA or whatever we're going to do. It makes it unfair to the District 21 taxpayers if our levy rate is lower coming into the equation. So yes, that it is intent is to get us on close to or on par with District 21 so that merger is.
And what happens in the crisis that we don't pass any levy because we don't have enough people understanding what's going on.
Yeah, we're working.
This sounds horrible. You'll get the service, you get the service you pay for. The station will be staffed, probably not 24/7. You'll have to rely on auto or mutual aid. Currently, we're staffed with 3. Maybe there would be 2-person staffing. I don't know. You would get the level of service for what you're able to pay for.
So in coupling with what the 2 ladies have said so far and that message, that sounds like a winning passing levy. Way to go. I mean, I just by this meeting alone, how many people from the community are here? How many residents are in District 4?
3,000.
3,000. And we have 3 houses represented here. The last month that we had it over at the Rome Grange, there was 10 homes represented. We got to reach a whole lot more people to understand that we got to raise this levy or we're not going to have the services that we are used to having.
And that's exactly why we hired that firm that the chief mentioned that we're working with to do some of that PR to get, at least at this point, to get the message out about our needs and the levy rate.
But they're not doing anything because I haven't heard a word.
They've been waiting for the levy rate to get. So
We had those meetings to get a general sense of how people were feeling and to communicate what's going on with the district. But now, as the chief said, we need to actually decide on that levy rate, and then the PR people from Lisbon will start getting that word out. So they've been working behind the scenes a lot so far, but it's hard to go out to the taxpayers. As someone I think even pointed out during one of those community meetings, it's hard to go out to the taxpayers and say, well, we need more, but we're not quite sure how much. So now it's time for us to decide how much we are going to put on the ballot and get the word out about that and why we need that. Does that make sense?
And I agree with that somewhat.
Okay.
On the other hand, I don't think I'm alone I don't think I'm the only person out there that supports the fire district.
No.
And
I'm not.
I'm actually, I don't care what the number is.
Yeah.
I don't think that's terribly unusual. I think there are those who have financial issues, but we don't have a particularly generically low income community in District 4. We have a fair number of people who can pay their bills. And I really think it boils down to supporting the fire district. I said this enough probably, but I really believe that.
can we talk after the meeting? Would you stick around for 5 minutes and chat with me? Thank you.
Mr. Lyde, were you done, sir?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah. All right. One more call for any comments? Mr. Ansel, Commissioner Ansel, would you like to?
Well, I just, for the board's benefit, I don't know if you're considering, I mean, you're gonna decide on one of these levy rates and truth in lending here, I've been a part of developing that number with the chief because we have a special interest in having a longer term relationship with District 4 in the future. And so it's important for our board when we re-enter those discussions that we aren't taking on a debt service, right? That we are bringing in someone who is either equal to. It would be nice if you were way richer than we were, but I don't think that's going to happen. And just for clarification, to Lonnie there, if we do an RFA or merger, what they do is they take the levy rates from the 2 districts and they average them out. So the best thing is to be really close to the right spot.
Right.
Because if we're at $1.50 and you're at $1, we're going to settle with $1.25, and that might not work. So, as the chief said, it's hard to ask the public for more money. But it just hasn't been done. I mean, District 4 hasn't done it ever, as far as I know, except for the bond. In District 21, it's been 12, 14, 15 years. So people don't understand the levy lid lift and the fact that we're stuck at 1% by state statute. And the people that came before us were very good at making ends meet. They scrimped and they saved and they didn't paint and they didn't replace apparatus and they used non-commercial HVAC systems and water heaters but at the end of the year, they had made their budget. The problem is now we're paying for all of that. And I would say I'm not faulting them. That's just, they didn't want to burden the taxpayers either. They went through the 2009-10 recession and people couldn't afford things. And so, I mean, this is a huge, complex financial picture. I think 99 cents will work if we build in an inflator. Okay, because even in this session, the legislature would not lift the 1%. There was both House and Senate legislation or bills that were not passed to allow fire districts to go up to 3%. And they didn't want to be on the hook for, quote, raising people's taxes. And so every fire district in the state of Washington is in pain. Because when inflation is 9% and our budget can only go up 1%, I'm sure you have a checkbook, you know how that works. It doesn't work real well. So at 99 cents, if ADs go up, next year that 99 cents might be 90 cents. Because overall total of everybody pouring into the pot can't go up more than 1%. An example of my own residence this year, because of assessed value going up, my fire levy went down. The amount I paid to District 21 is less this year than it was last year. So, you know, just because your house value went up doesn't mean you're paying the fire district anymore. And I would add, if the fire district doesn't succeed in lifting the lid and their service level goes down, I would wager that people's homeowners insurance will go up as much, if not more, than the amount of increase we are asking to operate the fire district. And it's hard to get that message out. It's hard to tell it to people, and it's hard to tell it to 3 people out of 3,000 that you know, live in your district. So I don't know if you guys are going to talk about this, but that's why I say 99 cents works today. It's not going to work a year from now.
Right.
It needs to be, you need to have the ability to inflate that by a percentage that at least keeps some pace with what projected inflation is. And I wish I knew what that was going to be, but I would say it's going to be probably between 3 and 6% somewhere, you know, the way it's been tracking. So that wasn't in the recommendation under the levy rate. It would come in the drafting of your levy proposal. So I just don't want I don't want people to be surprised if they see an inflator. It's happened in like South Whatcom did it. Did District 1 put an inflator in theirs as well? And what's that? That's just trying to get over the 1% limit, right? Because we can't take more than 1%. I mean, we can't put fuel on the rigs 1%. Anyway, so for you guys, when you're considering this, think, you know, $1.15 might work without an inflator. 99 cents is going to need an inflator. And I think be fair to say to the chief that that's probably the mindset we're going to have in District 21. next year. Hopefully starting in September, the year passes.
I think Chair Ansel makes a good point about considering the inflator, when we're considering these options for the levy rates. It might be a little more helpful to maybe talk a little bit more about the inflator. You mentioned South Wacom Fire Authority has put that into place. Do we know what sort of inflator rate we might have to be looking at?
Well, the rate would be decided by you. The South Wacom is doing a 4% annual.
Did you say?
Four, yes, sir. And District 1 is as well, which is the district to the east.
Are there statutory guidelines or restrictions on that inflator?
There's not. Legal counsel advised anything above 6 would be extremely foolish, and he would not counsel you to go that direction. My advice would be 3 or 4. 3, probably leaning towards 3, just as that's, I think, first time out, that's most common with business contracts. You have an annual increase. And just so we're aware, what that does is that allows you, the board, to, without a vote of the people, raise the budget 3% as opposed to 1%. So it's not we use the word inflate. That's probably, inflator might be the wrong word to use. The legal term is a limit factor. But what it allows you to do, instead of raising the levy 1%, or excuse me, not the levy, the budget 1%, it allows you to raise the budget by that number that you decide.
Would you do that if you got the $1.15? Would you need an inflator?
That's what we have to discuss. Yeah.
I don't think so. That would not be. That's a big jump in 1 year. That's an awful big jump for taxpayers in 1 year.
To the 150.
Yes, sir.
It's a double.
Thank you, Bruce. Okay, with that, thank you all for your comments. I will go ahead and close the public comment portion of the meeting now. And now it's time for the board to take on new business. And the only item on this special meeting agenda is consideration of the resolution that we have in order to let the county know what we want on the ballot. So I would entertain a motion. If either of you would like to make a motion. Get us started, and then we will discuss as normal. If we get a second, then we'll discuss the proposal and change it if we need to. And once we're in agreement, we'll vote.
Okay. Well, I guess it's okay. So that being said, I mean, I can make a motion based on, what I've heard. And then I think I heard you say we would go ahead and discuss it,
Yes.
Okay.
We have a motion first.
Well, I would move that we do the 99-cent one, the 3% inflator.
Okay. Should I read the paragraph that it would read? Here, I'll read it. What's that? Yeah, we do. So you've made a motion. Thank you. I'm still new at this. So yes, do we have a second?
I will second that motion.
Okay. And I'll ask.
Yeah, I guess, just looking at the numbers and hearing the presentation and just taking the history of how we got here, 84 doesn't get us there in my, simple way of looking at numbers.
Yeah.
And then from the customer, taxpayer standpoint, I think 115, that'd be great, but I think that
It's kind of like shopping insurance plans. It'd be more like the Cadillac
version in my way of thinking. I think the 99 with the ability to account for inflation annually at 3%, which is a pretty standard, contractual language. It allows us to basically pay the bills without a lot of fluff. And I guess that's kind of the way I'm looking at it.
Said, I feel like the 84-cent rate really isn't even fiscally responsible of us to even propose that when it won't cover the expenses in 2024 that we expect. And likely have to come back and ask our residents for another levy that left, I do believe that the 115 is a heavy lift. Would worry that it's not something that we're going to get folks to approve. That said, I appreciate the comments we heard about public outreach, public relations, really education to take place. And I feel that the 99-cent is something that I think people can rally around, especially when they look at the fact that not having levy limit going to and I think it's a matter of just getting the outreach so people understand that, so we can make a good decision when that's on the ballot. So I feel like the 99-cent is a good place for us to go. I also agree that, again, help us keep up.
So the limit factor of 3% is a total of just under $85,000. So that would be added to, if you're talking at the 99-cent rate.
Yeah.
So that would be the 2.822 million plus 85,000, and then the EMS levy on top of that. So just so you know what that 3% looks like.
Thank you. Appreciate that. And I'm not going to belabor the point. I'm in agreement with both of you. I think the 99-cent rate is the most responsible one for us to propose for all the reasons you just said, in addition to putting us in a position to perhaps make a more equitable attempt at merging in District 21 or whatever form that's going to take. And yeah, the voters told us last time that $1.45 was way too much. That was kind of turns out a little bit of a pie in the sky to try to get everything done all at once. The voters have said, no, we don't want to do that. We want you to, to be a little bit more fiscally conservative. So I'm on board with the motion that is before us.
And 3%.
Yeah, and the 3% ability to raise the budget, not the levy, but budget by 3%. So I think we're in agreement. Okay, before we vote, we need to read. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. So you'll need to read the capitalized parts and then put in the levy rate 2, and then back to the 3%. Yeah.
Okay, so before the board is resolution 2023-02, which is a resolution providing for the submission of levy. A resolution of the governing board of Whatcom County Fire Protection District 4, or the district, providing for the submission to the qualified electors of the district at an election to be held within the district on August 1st, 2023, in conjunction with the primary election to be held on that same date, of a proposition restoring the district's property tax levy rate to 99 cents per $1,000 of true and assessed valuation, and establishing a limit factor of up to 3%. I think that's important to say, up to 3%, subject to otherwise applicable statutory limitations for the following 5 years. So, under our consideration. We'll call for a vote. So, all those in favor, say aye. Aye. The motion passes 3-0. So our levy rate that we will be putting before the voters on August 1st will be 99 cents per 1,000 with a 3% limit. What else we got to do?
Sure.
If I can make a general announcement,
Yeah.
we did actually print off some flyers of different levy rates. So if you'd like to take one with the 99 cent and what that annual cost is, and then I broke it down into 6 month, by cost, so that if people wanted to take it with them, they would have the number that the board arrived to this evening.
And that, as we pointed out, that will be on our website. It will
Yep, it'll be on the website. It'll
be
be
shouted from the rooftops all over the district as much as we can, so people know what they're voting. We can do signing documents outside the meeting, correct?
Yes, this will have to be filled in by computer and then printed, and I will get with each of you tomorrow and get it.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, correct.
Can I just tell you guys something?
Yes.
Totally unrelated,
Sure.
but that I'm very excited about. I have a friend who's a semi driver, and she names her trucks. Her first truck was named